Hello and good evening to all of you. Good evening and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh, and in this video we shall discuss the current affairs and Gazette video for today, that is 18th of November 2021. Good evening to all of you friends. Hello and good evening to Amlan. Hi Preeti. Pritika. Hello Kriti. Good evening Ashish. Amlan. Thank you. Thank you for this compliment. Kriti. Thank you very much. Ashish. Thank you. Swejal, good evening to you. Hello Digvijay, how are you? Pritika says, hi sir, I'm not a believer of current affairs following in videos. They are actually a dump of more stuff, but what you give us is very much to the point and the sources you provide are pure and authentic. Thanks for the process that you're doing for us. Please do not quit. Yes sir, please do not quit. Thank you Jaya. Hello Sam, good evening to you. No, there is no quitting. Where is the question of quitting? There is no quitting. The point just being we sometimes wait so that all of you are able to join. That is the only thing. Why to quit? We have just begun, and you are the actual founders of the current affairs program here, right? Because you 10 and 12 of you, those people who are online every day, you will remember, you will cherish the days when you are able to clear these exams. And you will recollect how we could do this together, right? The conventional mode of studying current affairs is looking at the newspaper, trying to create some kind of notes, and that has also worked with people individually. But this collective approach, this is something that is, novel. This is new, that we are interacting and we are also discussing it together. Not only that, we have also that feature news section where we also talk about how to write the exam, right? Question by question. So we are actually discussing what could be a part of the prelims exam, what could be a part of the mains exam, right? So, and doing it together, that is the best part. You know why? Because this way, the treacherous, the monotonous process of doing it alone, we leave that apart, we do it together, right? So that is the reason I keep asking you, tell me what is the article that you don't understand in newspapers. We'll discuss it, no? We'll discuss it. If it is important enough, we'll also cover it in the magazine, right? So what is the giving up? There is no giving up, and thank you for encouraging. You're being here and you're saying that yes, you're preparing notes. This gives me power to go ahead every day. Good evening, Mohammed Azim. Good evening, Sangeeta. Good to have you here. All right, so let's begin the current affairs discussion for today. Very interesting articles and a couple of important articles related to education and also related to online education. So we will cover them as well, and you will be able to relate about what we are doing also in some of them. All right. So thank you for being a part here. Let us begin this initiative. All right. So today is 18th of November, and these are the articles that we're going to cover today. The first one in New Snapshot is the ASER report, a very important report by Pratham organization, Pratham NGO, and flagship report of Pratham NGO talking about the situation of education in rural India. Now you can quote these kind of reports in your examination, and I'll provide good amount of data, graphs, so that I'll be able to prove the point that I'm communicating. The second one is Draft Mediation Bill 2021, right? So this is an important bill which is pending, and it will also be introduced in the parliament. It has not been discussed around, but yet it is a very, very important bill, all right? The third one is Digital India Land Records Modernization Program. Right, so this was a part of the PIAB. We are going to discuss this as well, right? Some of the articles have been picked up from PRS. Some of them have been picked up from the newspaper today, ASER report from today's newspaper itself. This day in history we have dedicated to Batukeshwar Dutt. Have you heard of him? Right, so Batukeshwar Dutt. All right. All right, then we have the featured news for today, which is on MPLADS scheme. MPLADS scheme. So we will completely understand what is Member of Parliament Local Area Development Scheme, what is its significance, why was it incorporated in the beginning, how can this scheme get integrated with other schemes, for example, Adarsh Gram Yojana, for example, MNREGS, and other schemes at the local level. What are the issues because of which the scheme was stopped, and why has it been reinitiated now? So we will understand the scheme in totality in the featured news section. A very, very important, relevant question for the main exam that can directly get from MPLAD schemes. All right, paper 2 specific. Image of the day is of Thangta. Anybody knows what is it? Important. This becomes important for pre-examination, and I happen to encounter this. I will tell you what context did I find it in. All right. So terms and concepts, the four that we discussed today are Kisan Credit Card, which has been extended to livestock, dairy, fisheries sector. And an exercise India is conducting in Southeast Asia, SITMEX, with its joining countries in Southeast Asia. Then Sullumban Challenge Fund, the second cohort being released. The fourth one is world's largest solar park. Now, which state has it? India has it, but which state in India has the largest solar park in the world? Can you tell me that? Okay, a small hint, a state with a good amount of land resource, flat land resource, and having good amount of sunlight. Give me that name of the state. All right, 3 editorials. First is on digital divide. The second one is understanding why the informal sector shrank. We have discussed that informal sector shrank, but this is where we will get into the depth. Why did it shrink? Was it because the sectors grew formal in nature, or was it something else? Right. The third one is PM Gati Shakti. No, this is not the one that we are going to discuss. Right. Another one is another on digital divide, which can not only be conquered through provision of electronics, but also through economic and social inclusion. So these are the 3 that we will discuss. Case study of the day is on a beautiful person who has escaped human trafficking and created wonderful change in society, right? So very empathetic case of that gentleman. We'll discuss that towards the end. All right. So people say Rajasthan, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Gujarat. All right. So we'll get at it. We'll get at it. Thank you for responding. Kriti, martial arts of Manipur. Absolutely. Absolutely correct. It's a martial art from Manipur, Thangta. All right. So, and in what context is it in news? We will understand that as well. There are 4 martial arts kind of arts which were popular in the old times, which have been included in Khelo India. 4. And one of them is Thangta. The other one is Gatka. If you remember, we had covered this in one of the snapshots. This is the Sikh tradition of martial arts. And then we have one from Kerala. Can somebody name that? It was asked in the UPSC exam 2 years back. And we also have another one that is from Madhya Pradesh, the state game of Madhya Pradesh. Anybody? So these are the kind of questions they will keep asking, right? So state game of Madhya Pradesh was asked in several exams. I remember that. It is also performed in the Republic Day parades at times. Right, so state game of Madhya Pradesh, and the third one being the one from Kerala, the martial art form from Kerala. Tell me the names. All right. Meanwhile, now we begin. The first snapshot is on ASER report 2021. Now, before we get into the the details of the report, let me tell you that this report is not very controversial in nature. Many reports become controversial, right? So when we talk about freedom index, freedom of the press index in India, then the environment pollution index, World Bank reports on ease of doing business, all of them have been marred in controversies because some or the other reasons. Lately, we also had this global hunger index marred in controversies because of the method. So ASER report presents the way it has conducted the complete survey. It is a telephonic survey. It was conducted in the month of September and October in rural India, and they conducted the survey amongst many students, thousands of students, and also thousands of teachers, right? And that is how they concluded. They conducted the survey in more than 25 states. This is considered as one of the most credible reports for school education in our country, all right? So you will be able to quote the results of these kind of reports as well. This was specifically for the rural India, right? So right now, let me just quickly address these, and then after that, I will show you the graphs also, what it is. So it has addressed 4 important things. First is the enrollment pattern in the school. Strikingly enough, this time there has been an increase in enrollment in government schools and relatively decrease in enrollment in the private schools. You know why? Because of increased distress, economic distress of the parents. So there has been an increase in the number of students getting enrolled in government schools and decrease in private schools. This is one. Second one is the tuition pattern. Now students have started to depend more on tuition. Almost 2 out of 5 students in India have started to depend on tuitions. Earlier the proportion was 30 out of 100 dependent on tuitions, and now it is around 40% of students depending on tuitions, right? So this is another important change that has happened. The third one is access to smartphones. Third, because during the times of lockdown, what is the mechanism to study? We have only got smartphones, laptops. Access to smartphone in rural areas has been a cause of concern, and especially in the smaller age group, right? Smaller age group and small class group, children as many as just 20% have the access of these smart devices. What about the rest? No access at all, right? So because of this, they have not only been not able to watch the classes online, they have not been able to be a part of the class at all altogether. That is the situation, right? So what has been the learning material for them? Just books, but no amount of discipline, because there is no school ambience, no school discipline, right? So that is the difference when we create, when we study together in the evenings, right? We create a little level of discipline where conversations are happening, but they are exam oriented. Okay, so this was a phone based survey, as I explained. Pratham Foundation, and whatever I have explained, we have written that down here. One good thing that has happened, see, there are several things that I discussed and they might have seemed to be a little disturbing, because there is more exclusion, there is less inclusion, there is more digital divide, there is less inclusivity. But one thing has happened that has been good, that is that in the age group of 15-16, this is the age group when a lot of students start to drop out of schooling. This is the age group where dropping out has not happened at the pace. Dropping out of education has not happened. See, one could be either boys or girls at this age, right? So boys would drop out because they would want to earn, right? If you look at the rural areas, countryside, or people with marginalized backgrounds. Girls, on the other hand, would be sent to where? They would be married off. This is the situation in the country. This is reality, although against law, but this is how it is happening. So especially in the marginalized communities, like the tribals, right, the other marginalized communities. So and during the times of COVID, when schools are also shut down and nobody can participate in economic activity, let's get them married. The report speaks, the government speaks that there has been an increase in number of marriages. So, but thankfully the Pratham report says that till now there has been less dropouts. In fact, what has been the proportion earlier, it has only decreased. So this is a good change that we have seen. So some silver lining amongst the clouds. An increase in tuition dependency that I mentioned, access to smartphones, only 20% amongst the class 1-2 students. This also highlights another important thing. You know what? It highlights the fact of the background of the student. Now, the survey was conducted telephonically. So parents also would be able to respond. And when asked what is the background of literary background of the parent or economic background, if they were from a lower income category or less education category, the effect on student automatically would be high. If they were from higher and middle income category and their the asset and wealth proportion was high, the effect on children, the negative effect of education on children would be less. I will show you the graphs, right? So this is the crux of this particular report. Let me show you the graphs. I have taken the screenshot from the newspaper itself. So this is from the Hindustan Times today's. See, very clear here. So it says the government schools, the proportion of students in the government schools has risen. This is 2019-2021. Government schools from 64 to 70%. Please note, the proportion of students in government schools was actually decreasing from the year 2004 onwards to 2018. It was decreasing. And there has been a substantial 5% jump just because of this COVID times. It is straight away indicative that there is a financial distress. Otherwise, it would have even gone further down. So one thing to note. Then in private school, automatically the number has to go down because students are getting enrolled in government schools, right? It says dependence on tuition class. 2 out of 5 kids are dependent on tuition class. Also because there are many reports suggesting that 80% of the faculty, teachers have reported some or the other issues in online classes. Right? So I'm not talking of a state-of-the-art studio where everything is available, internet is available, there is a good screen available, there is a microphone available, a lot of people at service. No, not that. But try to recollect, try to imagine the person of the weakest link, the government schools in the rural areas, those elderly people who have not used smartphones, they're using the basic phones and now they have to start teaching online. Right? Imagine that in rural areas. So that is not available. So that is the reason 2 out of 5 kids have started to rely on tuitions, private tuitions going nearby. This is one. Access to smartphones. Only 1 in 3 kids have access to smartphones, right? And that too not all the time. Next one. See, the share of children not enrolled in schools. the share of children not enrolled in schools. Now, this is what is indicative of the year 2021. See, the share of children not enrolled in schools has decreased. Wow, is that not good? This is the silver lining I was talking of, because you know there is another thing, because because of which students have started to go to school. I was reading a report, and in and around Delhi, the report said that in rural areas, 90% of the parents want their children to go to school, and in urban areas the proportion was even more, right? So around 90% plus in both the areas. The reason was that the parents are also fed up that the child is at home and there is no study happening. So both of them, children and parents, both are enforcing that child goes to study even when they are not vaccinated. This is the situation at homes. So last 2 years there has been a huge education gap, and for that same reason Parliament panel also presented a report, and we presented, and we have a complete feature news on that. So just type education gap Edukemy and you will find a feature news on YouTube. A 15-minute video, you will be able to understand what are the education gaps and how the government has tried to cover them up, right? Not cover them up, but how the government is working at it, right? Now, enrollment status of children at the age of 5 to 8. This is a very crucial age. This is the age where basic language skills are taught, basic mathematics are taught. And if don't imagine yourself at this situation. Imagine a small child at this situation who is not able to study properly, right? Because there was no schooling available. So their mental growth has happened, but their intellectual growth has not happened. And this is the delay we are talking of. And you can see in this graph, age 5, age 7, age 5 to 8. Now, in preschool, should there be children in the age gap 5 to 8? No, very few. There should be very few, but the proportion is high, right? And that is the reason because of which now, when they should actually be registered in schools, but they are not registered in schools. These are preschool children also, still in age 5 to 8 gap. So this is something not recommended, but it was enforced on all of us. Another one, it says access to smartphones. See, the dark blue talks about the access to smartphones, and the light blue talks about access sometimes and not accessible. See, so smaller children have less accessibility to smartphones, and a good proportion, 20 to 25% students do not have access at all. Sometimes if their father has a phone, they will be able to access the phone, but not all the time. This is the kind of digital divide that we are talking of, right? And the last one you can see is very, very, very interesting. See, if the person is from a low category, the parents are from low income category, the child, so this is the first one. If the parent is from low, middle and high income category, these are the percentage of children who do their online activities at home. So if they are from low income category, the parents, only 16% children are able to do their activities online. If they are from high income category, the parents, around 35% children are able to do their activities online. See that difference? So again, this shows that if one is from a poorer background, the child will not be able to access this kind of education, right? So largely these are the important issues that we had to cover. Now getting back to the feature, the snapshot itself. Now see, this is not a snapshot, this has become a complete feature in itself because we discussed so many different aspects of it, right? So if you have noted them down, keep them in your mind, just write them as pointers, and proportions also, like 2 by 5 children, 40% of children have started to access tuition, private tuition in rural areas. So these are the kind of examples, and write ASER report in background in at the side so that you're able to put this in the answers. All right, so moving to second snapshot, draft mediation bill. What is mediation? Mediation, arbitration, right? Reconciliation, these are of the same genre. These words are the same genre. So the main idea here is not to get into a legal battle. Even if one is into a legal battle, let's withdraw the case because it might take a lot of time, and let us start to renegotiate the terms of the contract, right? So that is what mediation is. Now the government is in the process, Indian government is in the process of framing a mediation bill 2021. So what is the main idea? The idea is to reduce the number of litigations in the court of law. If we have more litigations, there will be less ease of doing business. If we have more litigations, See, so let us start to give this answer various perspectives. So if there is more litigation, there will be less ease of doing business. So business is what I have pointed. If there is more of litigation, then there will be finances which will be stuck up. If there is more litigation, then there will be less tendency for further investment from abroad. There are many aspects to it, and therefore, and India is very popular for having these court cases stuck up. So anybody who is not the right person doing the business in the right frame of mind, they will ensure that the case gets filed. And therefore, if we have a mediation bill, the cases will not get stuck here. Before getting to the litigation process, there will be a mediation process in which there will be an arbitrator. So a person who is neutral party, they will meet along with both the sides, side 1 and side 2. And they will try and ensure that there is some reconciliation done here. And then both the parties will have, after the reconciliation is done, both the parties will have to abide by the award by the arbitrator, right? Now this is an international norm, but India does not actively participate in this norm. And if you know about the retrospective laws cases, right, the one that deals with the many of them, we have Hutch Vodafone issue, and we have quite a number of issues like that, right? We have discussed quite a few of them. The Air India assets were getting seized by Keynes, right? Keynes International. So many of them India got caught because India was earlier not participating in arbitration, but arbitration court gave judgments in favor of the private parties. So now having arbitration is a good mechanism. This is called as alternate dispute redressal. So for civil cases, commercial, family disputes. Now there is a concept of compoundable offense. Have you heard of it? Compoundable offense. See, all offenses is always criminal in nature, right? The other one is civil and commercial and family dispute, but an offense is always criminal in nature. Offense. So if I slapped you, this is an offense, and I can be actually taken by the police. I can be put behind the bars. And in these cases, in the offense cases, there are some cases which can be treated as compoundable. Compoundable means some kind of compromise being done, right? So in this case, there will be no CRPC actions against me, or I will not be jailed, and there will be some compromise. But compromise cannot happen in grave kind of cases. For example, if I have killed somebody, if there is an issue of molestation, rape, these are the kind of cases where one cannot be negotiating with the other party. So where there can be negotiation, they can largely be in civil cases, commercial cases, family disputes. So this is where alternate dispute redressal must come in, so that litigation time gets reduced, so that the whole process gets hastened. It becomes fast, right? And India is also a party to Singapore Convention on Mediation, because of which India will have to have these kind of laws as well. See, once we become a party to international convention, so these conventions, they meet so that the globalization process and investment process, the whole setting up of business, it gets streamlined in all the countries. So that is why India, since is a party to it, India will have to have a law on this, right? So the idea is to encourage mediation, conversations, right? No, dispute resolution in a faster way. And there'll be a registration, there'll be a body to register the mediators. So there'll be a speciality of lawyers who will be into mediations, into compromises, right? So this is the part of the bill that we are discussing right now. So there'll be pre-litigation mediation. That means even before the case is registered with the court, people will go for pre-litigation mediation, right? Before the case is registered. And then they will have to abide by the mediation settlement agreement. This will be consensual in nature. They will have to participate and follow it if they have agreed to initially. And there will be a formation of Mediation Council of India also, right? So this is the crux of this, right? Also, they have to be followed under a time constraint, time limit. There will be a principle of neutrality for the mediator, the person who is mediating this case, the judge, as you would like to call in common parlance. So they have to follow the principle of neutrality, right? So this is the update about Snapshot 2. Okay. All right. So Jaya says Kalaripattu, absolutely correct. And Swejal also said Kalaripattu from Kerala, absolutely correct. And yes, the state game for Madhya Pradesh is Malkham, and that is the fourth game that I was talking of. We'll come to it. Snapshot 3 is on Digital India Land Record Modernization Program. Now, this was a part of the PIB yesterday's, and that is the reason, important scheme. That is why we are covering this. Now, Bhumi Samvad was held. Bhumi Samvad, under, and this Bhumi Samvad is under National Workshop on Digital India Land Record Modernization Program. So this is where some important terms become very, very relevant for the exam purpose, right? So one of the important terms is unique land parcel identification number. Unique land parcel identification number. So this is a 14-digit number, alphanumeric. That means some numbers and some digits will be here. And this is just like Aadhaar card. One Aadhaar card identifies me, another identifies you, and they're unique. So every land parcel will have unique number, so that one can, by clicking on that land record, one will be able to know who is the predecessor owner of this place, what crops have been cultivated, if there was home, who had owned it. So complete past records of this through unique land parcel identification number. Right now, these kind of entities do not exist, but they're a part of land reforms. So once we have this, we will be able to gauge what is the cost of that land, how to be able to include a particular circle rate of the cost. This is not only that, then we will also have a registration system which will be converted to online registration system. Right now we do have registration system which is offline, but slowly and steadily we will convert this whole system to online, right? So these are two important components of it. So let's get back to understanding that this particular project, right, digitization of land records, this will include computerization of land record. This is one. Then survey of the fields. How? Physical survey, or is it digital survey? Yes, it will be digital, largely digital. It will be physical as well, verified physically, but it will be through satellites, right? So second part is that, and the third was computerization of registration. So once we go to the registrar authority, those kind of things, the complete database will be converted into online. So physical documents claiming this is my land and forged documents claiming that this is somebody else's land, they won't exist. It will be all available online. So frauds will also decrease, right? So there are many aspects of it, right? So this is why we are trying to have an interconnected database, integrated database, and create a system which is copyable, which is replicable in all the states. Land is a state subject, but union government is doing this so that it creates a single portal, a single database for all the land records throughout the country. So do remember this particular aspect of it. One nation, one software for it, right? So integrated land management information system. This is what they are trying to create. Now include these kind of words in your answer, and you fetch those half marks, 1 mark extra. You will be able to easily get these 1 mark extra in 20 questions. You're 20 marks ahead in one paper, and this is far ahead, in the whole game, far ahead. Okay, so this is the update. This day in history dedicated to Batukeshwar Dutt, and this gentleman was a revolutionary fighter against the Britishers. So one of the aggressive ones, and because of which he was jailed and he was sentenced to Kalapani, and he spent his life imprisonment in Andaman Nicobar Cellular Jail, and after independence he also came back to the mainland, and he passed away in the year 1965. It is his birthday today. 1910 is when he was born, November 18th, today itself. All right. Okay. MPLADS scheme, a complete analysis of the scheme, how and why it got originated, what is the issue with the scheme, center and state government, and then local government, how are they all involved, is it good for the federal structure or not? We will understand in details about this complete scheme and why it is in news, what are the issues, how are the challenges being addressed right now, right? So very important, and this question has been asked 5-6 years back. They can repeat a question like this any day in UPSC examination, mains examination. All right. Image of the day is of Thangta. See this image. So this is a martial art of the state of Manipur, one important state which is though small but has humongous diversity in itself. Many major tribal groups are a part of Manipur state. Now in the year 2020, 4 of these indigenous games and martial arts were included in Khelo India campaign. Khelo India campaign was initiated just a few years back to promote the spirit of sportspersonship in our whole country. So district wise competitions would be held, and 1000 students would be taken up finally, for whom the government would give 5 lakh of rupees in a period of next I think 4 or 8 years, right? So this is the main idea of Khelo India, to promote sportsmanship and to be able to groom talent for future, right? So 1,000 students, and then they would be given 5 lakh rupees in the coming few years. This is the main idea. And in Khelo India scheme, many games were listed. Amongst them, four entrants also came in the year 2020. Gatka from Punjab, Kalaripattu from Kerala, Malkhambh from Madhya Pradesh, and we also have Thangta from Manipur. We have covered Malkhambh, we have covered Gatka, we have covered Kalaripattu in some of the images, and this time we have covered the fourth one, that is Thangta. So do remember this martial art technique from Manipur, right? So this is a fighting skill, and this is also a form of spiritual worship, no? So all of these form of martial arts, they are a form of uniting oneself with a superior power, right? So being able to get the best out of oneself and being able to focus. So this is not about retaliation, it is more about knowing oneself through the art of fighting. All right, you guys there with me? If you're there, do like this initiative, share some thumbs up, some comments, that will be very much appreciated, and we would love to continue this work with the same zeal as you have while you are here. All right, terms and concepts. The first term and concept for today is the Kisan credit card, which has been extended to livestock, dairy and fishery farmers. See, there is a good amount of population of agriculture sector which is not only involved in agriculture, but a decent proportion of this is also into animal husbandry, fisheries, forestry. Agriculture is one part of it. Animal husbandry is also integrated with the agriculture. And in one of the reports I had clearly shared with you that during times when agriculture is not doing well, as much as 35% of the farmer population, it is indulged in agricultural allied activities. That is animal husbandry. See, so that is the reason that we need to start giving some funding to animal husbandry also, some funding to fishing farmers, and some funding to people who are in forestry or allied activities, beekeeping, hen keeping, each of them, right? Sericulture, whatever it is. So that is why the center has launched a nationwide campaign to provide Kisan credit card to eligible persons in these categories, right? Allied agriculture initiatives, right? So Kisan credit card, it got initiated in the year 1998. Right, by NABARD, and the main idea was to provide some credit without any collateral. Not everybody owns piece of land, but they might need some credit to be able to survive and have some short-term loan, right? So this is why Kisan credit card was initiated. It has now been extended to other people also. Okay. Second term for today is SITMEX. Now this is an exercise that India has conducted with the Singapore and Thailand in the Andaman Sea. Now we have been speaking about global organizations and then multilateral organizations, and this is a minilateral. We have discussed minilateral in one of the feature news. Just type minilateral Edukemy, you will be able to find this on YouTube, a complete feature news on this. Now minilateral is a small organization, ideally 3 or 4 countries with a specific agenda. So for example, AUKUS, Australia, and then UK and USA all combined had a specific defense agenda in the Indo-Pacific region. Similarly, we had the formation of the one in Middle East, that is named as Abraham Accords between Israel, UAE and Bahrain, also brokered with the help of USA. So they had a particular agenda. Tourism was one agenda, people exchange and trading was another agenda. Now India has formed similar kind of association, right? So this is in the group of minilaterals. This is away from multilateral and global organizations. Why are they forming these small organizations? They have always been formed, but now there is an increase per information because the multilateral organizations are not able to provide that benefit, right? There are so many stakeholders, and coming to a common conclusion becomes tough. Looking at the personal interest of few specific nations, that is why one of the reasons is that these countries come together for a specific agenda. What is the agenda this time? This time, India, Singapore and Thailand are conducting marine exercises, so that they are able to have synergy, coordination, cooperation in the marine sector, right? So again, I'll be repeating those words, right? So freedom of navigation, right? Open sea lanes, OSL. freedom of navigation, open sea lanes, and then HADR, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. See, these countries are not far, no, they are located very close by, close to Andaman Sea. If you look at the map of Singapore, Thailand, there is a Malaysia also, but they are very close to Andaman Sea, both these countries. So that is the reason that there is an increased association required. And this is also forming a regional group, although Thailand is decently close to China as well. Right, so but still, and Singapore is very much close to a country like USA. So India has got the better edge over Andaman Sea. It needs better cooperation of these countries than China in Andaman Sea. That is why this exercise. So do you remember SITMEX, Singapore, Thailand, India maritime exercises, right? All right, the third one is Sullumban Challenge Fund. All right, so Sullumban Challenge Fund, Sullumban. What is the meaning of Sullumban? Sullumban means somebody. Hindi word. So SIDB has initiated another window of Sullumban Challenge Fund. So what is done here is that there are some people who are like the think tank, and if this fund is provided to them, they will be able to create some innovative ways so that they are able to provide solutions to certain problems. So be it economy, be it COVID times, be it anti-hacking operations, anti-hacking. So they will, in this case, they will collect the hackers themselves, they will pay them as well. In case of climate change, they will collect climate activists and they will try to research and create some innovative solution for them. So this is why this fund has been created by SIDB, so that it may be able to channelize this fund in specific cohorts. Cohorts means groups. In specific groups, they will be able to find solution to problems. One of the problems is the COP26, that means climate change related problems, and this is why this Sullumban Challenge Fund has been now initiated again, right? So what is the main idea? Idea is to have green, clean and efficient climate change projects, right? So a couple of things to be noted here. Do remember Atal incubators, right? And do remember these hackathons. Hackathons are the places where these contests are organized, and the people who are providing solutions, the toppers of this, they will be funded, and these are the kind of fund, Sullumban Challenge Fund. They will be using this fund and they will be creating an innovative product, right? So while they create this innovative product, it may not be marketable in the market, it may not be saleable, it may not be even efficient, and that is why we say they are a part of incubators, Atal incubators. Remember, we have spoken about Atal incubators, Atal tinkering labs. Atal tinkering labs are for school children. Atal incubator are for bigger organizations, startups. All right. So try to link all of them now. Try to start linking. We have studied quite a few hackathons. We have discussed Atal incubators quite a few times. So now relate Sullumban Challenge Fund along with that. The fourth is I don't know, what are you talking of, Jaya? Independent and self-sufficient. What is the one? I am not able to understand. Please, please put this question clearly. World's largest solar park. World largest solar park in India itself. Yes, Rajasthan is the place. Some people had also mentioned Gujarat. I would have also gone for Ladakh, because these are the places where a good amount of solar power is available, and not only available, but clouds are less, right? So we have few days on which we find cloudy skies, and that is why the presence of sunlight is phenomenal. Now this is getting formed in the dry and sandy region of Rajasthan, which has less presence of clouds. The Bhadla solar park is going to be having an operational capacity of around 2245 megawatt, a very good, very huge capacity. This is the size usually of a big hydel power project. 2000 megawatt is the size of a big hydel project. So a huge amount of investment will get into it, right? And where are we getting the solar panels from? Of course, many of them will be imported. Some of them will also be constructed in our own country. So this is the update from Rajasthan. Okay. Editorials of the day. Today's editorials are interesting ones. Two on education itself, and the third one is from. We will discuss that quickly, right? So, all right. There is some. We will study that, right? All right. So, oh yes, Jaya, absolutely correct. Sullumban means self-dependent. Absolutely correct. Kriti, absolutely correct. Dependent on oneself, helping oneself. Okay, so the first editorial is on COVID's impact on learning. COVID's impact on learning. Now, it starts with saying, the editorial, all the three editorials are from Indian Express. The first editorial starts with saying that there is enormous government school registrations happening. We have spoken about it. And there are reduced number of private schools. So this is a complete repetition, a practice of what we studied. And this is what the editorial is also repeating, right? And there's been a boom in private tuitions in our own country. This shows there is a stark digital divide in the learning gaps in the urban India, rural India, or haves and have-nots. Haves are those parts of society which have the resources. Have-nots are the poor people. Have-not, just using the phrase have-not means the people who are deprived. Okay, so ASER report also has presented the same, and it has very much highlighted this learning gap. Now, one important thing from ASER report, that is that this survey was conducted amongst 75,000 children, 5 to 16 age, and from 25 states and 3 union territories. So if you want to doubt, you can doubt, but quite a credible research here. And this was a telephonic survey. So yes, if somebody asks for criticism, see, these kind of questions won't come. But in general, if surveys, a question is there on survey, credibility of a survey, you can say telephonic surveys are not very credible because people tend to underrepresent their economic status, financial status, educational status, all of it. This is what happens in India. If somebody calls me up and says, how much do you earn? Will I always say I'm unemployed, right? So that is the thing, right? Not only that, there were around 8,000 teachers who were also surveyed, right? So they also reflected the kind of problems they have faced. Government schools largely, right? So what have we spoken about? Change in enrollment, yes. The government schools enrollment has increased. Tuition dependence, we have spoken about it. Digital divide, yes, we have spoken. Delay in education, especially in the early age, we have spoken about it, right? So while this survey was conducted on the phone, you can always mention that the extremely marginalized sections, they were yet again marginalized because this survey was telephonic in nature. Okay, right. So the next one is a very, very important editorial, and that is why I have highlighted important pointers, quite a few of them. So this is on the digital divide in education, and it cannot be bridged by laptops and smartphones. This is what it says. So the first one said that there's a digital divide, and if people had smartphones, it was good. But this one says only laptops and smartphones are not enough. We need more. A very, very beautiful opinionated editorial providing huge insights, and you will be able to relate to what we are doing right now, right? Complete boom in education sector has come because of COVID times, and this is what it talks of. So the editorial starts by saying that switch to online education was not natural. It was provided by force, by an inexorable force. That means it could not be avoided, and because of COVID pandemic, everybody had to switch over. People who could switch over well, it was good for them, but people who could not switch over well, so there is where you see exclusivity, right? So there have been digital haves and digital have-nots, right? And if you want to only distribute smartphones and laptops, right, so this will be just like treating the symptom rather than the actual disease. Every time, suppose I have a problem in my stomach, right? So because of my digestion issues, I'm getting fever all the time. You are giving me paracetamol so that the temperature comes down, so that I'm able to sleep. There is no pain, but we are not treating the actual pain, the problem. So we are only treating the symptom. If we are providing the children with the smartphones and laptops, we need more than that. We need more than that. This is where the editorial gets on to say that there are 4 reasons for this huge boom in technology and education these days. You will be able to relate. First one is innovation and technology. See, if you can see this panel, this is a 80-inch screen, and the first time I saw this a couple of years back, and I was struck. This is a huge TV that people don't have at homes, and we have a TV which on which we can write as well. So what is this? This is innovation and technology. If online education is getting provided to you at distances anywhere in the world, you can well imagine that this is only innovation and technology. The second one is knowledge intensity of production. Earlier, the production of knowledge related only with straightaway teaching. So mathematics being taught, and this is how children would understand. But now there is a knowledge intensity of production. Do you know the videos that we are involved in? There are people from America watching this. There's students from America watching this. There's students from UAE watching this. And this shows up in the YouTube analytics. There are people from there also watching. So can we focus some news which is specific to America or something that is specific to UAE? So this is what is called as knowledge intensity of production. We are trying to look into various smaller aspects of knowledge and trying to cater to that specific demand. There is a borderless world facilitating knowledge transfer. This is another important aspect because of which knowledge has become universal in nature. And the fourth one is explosion of knowledge. See, earlier, the Industrial Revolution 1 was also about knowledge. It was about being able to handle the supply chain of energy, coal production. The second Industrial Revolution was a little bit better, right? When we started to use electricity. So again, education about electricity. But fourth Industrial Revolution is about information itself. Complete digitization of all the kind of information. The third Industrial Revolution was computer technology, and the fourth one is artificial intelligence, right? Internet of Things, and so on and so forth, right? So the fourth Industrial Revolution is information itself. And somebody rightly had mentioned what was the reason that Geo was named Geo. If you turn it around, it becomes oil. If you turn around the word, it becomes oil. So in Geo, that means, you know, the company which is dealing with information and technology knowledge is the new oil, right? Data is the new oil. This is what it, maybe Mr. Ambani thought of. So knowledge has become the key for the future. And in fact, knowledge earlier was only for the middle class. But right now, the marginalized section, both the sides, the lower income, lower middle income, and the higher income, all of them have started to introduce their children to education. Right? So therefore, there is more inclusivity in demand for education. Not only that, everybody wants better quality of education, right? Because people feel that if people are educated, if their children are educated, they will have better and assured mobility, assured mobility for the children if they are educated. If not here, somewhere else. If not, X exam, then Y exam. If not UPSC, then RBI grade B. If not RBI grade B, then probably another associated exam, right? Say income tax commissioner in another field, right? So, yeah. So moving ahead. It says that this has resulted into commodification of education, and commodification has resulted into commercialization of education, and this is attracting private investment. In fact, in 2018, the year 2018, before pandemic, China saw more than half of the total investments of education into its startups, online startups. See, so this is the kind of revolution that the world has already started to see in privatization of education. Editorial goes on to say that this will also increase the consumerism of education. This will also increase the monetary value of education. So along with competition of the providers of education, so example Baiju, Unacademy, Upgrad, Edukemy, all of them competing with each other, there will be increased amount of cost of education as well, right? So who will bear the cost? The consumer themselves will bear the cost in the long run, and for this, the marginalized section should be provided mandatory incomes so that they are able to invest in education. And this is how education will become an important value for everybody. The medieval values, the old time values, what were they? Discipline, old time values. Values means what was considered as good. Discipline, obedience, hard work, respect, compliance, allegiance. See, these were the middle time, olden time values, 100 years, 50 years back. But now the new kind of values are quality, competence, competitiveness, optimism, confidence, innovation. So anybody, if you are here on YouTube with me, you are here because probably there is some quality or competence or optimism, right? You're not here because of obedience or respect or allegiance. No. Next day, you might want to switch to some other place. But because of these modern values, education has become more competitive in these days, right? And this is where it says that, let me provide information. Government, the public funding in education is around 3%, and we want to increase it to 6%. So this has been a goal for a lot of time, and government has not been able to do it. Public spending 3% of the GDP, and it wants to increase it to 6% of GDP, double it. Just like it wants to double the spending in health initiatives also, okay? So education today is not a question of charity, it's a matter of right for everybody. right? So this is the quick crux, a very beautiful article, and you will be able to relate. See, one more point here. It says that how should we be able to improve the quality of education? By increasing the budget allocation for the government, private sector also, and have zero based budgeting of education. That means every time we want to put in money in education field, every time budget is created, we have to ask question, what is the relevance of putting in money? Every time we cannot say the last year we had 10 crores, so let us put 8 crores this time. No, we will ask the question again, what was the outcome, and only on the basis of that we will provide the next budget, right? So this is how the education services will become a matter of right for everybody. All right. The third editorial is on very quickly I'll cover this up. So this is about the shrinking of the informal sector. SBI report has said that the informal sector shrank from 50% to around 20%, right? So the proportion of the shrinking of informal sector has been humongous, but during COVID times, and there are some people who are saying this is because the informal sectors, which were contributing to 50% of GDP, they have gotten formalized. Editorial says no, this is not true. Most of it has happened because the informal sector's work has been encroached by the formal sector. The work of informal sector has been encroached by the formal sector, and that is why their proportion in GDP has decreased and proportion of the formal sector has increased. This can also be proved if you look at the number of people employed in informal sector. The number of people employed in informal sector has increased with time. In COVID times, the quality of jobs, the remuneration that people get, they have only decreased. The quality and remuneration has only decreased, but the number of people employed has increased. See, it very clearly says the employment share in non-agricultural informal enterprise has increased from 68 to 70%. And this is barring agriculture. People have come up in agriculture, informal sector, right? So this very well shows that informal sector has been engulfed by the formal sector, and this is not that there is a structural shift happening. It is complete, it is like engulfing up complete sector. So this is what the editorial points out, and so this is the complete editorial about it. So let us quickly understand what this case study for today is about. Today's case study is on human trafficking. This gentleman that you're seeing in the image here, this gentleman has been exploited for a good amount of time. We are talking of Khem Lal Khaterji, and he later instituted an organization called as SAS, Shramik Adhikar or Nyay Sangathan. So in labor industries like the brick kiln industry, like the industry that deals with coal, he was exploited there as a child, but he was later saved by the NGO, some specific NGO. And after he was rescued, he's also helping the government in forming laws against human trafficking. Is this not good? So this is a great activity being done by this gentleman, and as children, as small children also, people are exploited. So at the age of 6, people start working at brick kiln industry, the industry which is not good for small children to participate in hazardous activities, but they were working 18 hours a day. So he has presented a complete light of what was the scenario then, and with the help of that, they're trying to formulate the anti-human trafficking laws, right, aiding the government. So this is how people are contributing bit by bit in their own way. And your contribution bit by bit in your own way is through studies, is through participation here, right? So I'm very happy that you are here participating here, and we will quickly in a couple of minutes start the feature news. Do like this initiative, right? Be a participant, and I will see you tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. for the Gazette discussion. But right now, the feature discussion just in a couple of minutes on a very important topic, that is MPLADS scheme. All right. So thank you for watching. Any questions, put it down here. And offline chats, one important thing, offline chats are different from the online chats. I also got to know about it later. So if you have asked me a question on the online chat and I could not respond back immediately, look up the offline chat of the same video. You will be able to find the answer. All right. So thank you for watching, friends. Quickly switch over to the next video. All right. Thanks for watching.